Hey guys, how's everyone doing? I just made a huge mistake. I started the wrong stream. I actually started the stream for tomorrow's webinar. So that was quite bad. That's why I'm late. I had to shut down that stream, which means tomorrow's webinar is going to be using a different link. So we'll get that out to you guys today. Sorry again about that. Right. So we're starting a little late. It's okay. Let's start by going to this and opening this. I'm just a little disorganized now because of the mess up. I had to do a bunch of things real quick to get back on track. So yeah, guys, it's Tuesday, the 24th of March, 2020. Time is 13:05 here in the UK. Let's get started with the analysis. Right, so you're looking at a USD CHF 1 hour chart. We took a short here this morning that didn't quite work out, but we closed out with a very minimal loss. A very, very minimal loss. That's a cool thing about breakout trading. You usually get out with very, very, very small losses, which is one of the things I love about it. We had another trade here on USD CHF last night that I shared to the forum. Depending on, you could have got out of this with 2R, or you could have, like me, got out with like 0.75R. Unfortunately, what happened with this one is that I was in bed, so I never really got a chance to exit down here at 2 a.m. It's a bit annoying, but when you're trading 1 hour charts and you keep your trades open overnight, especially on JPY pairs, you end up missing out on your exit. If your target's a little bit wider and you see it stalling out down here, you have about 4 or 5 hours to exit when it's stalling out down here if you're at your charts. But if you're in bed, obviously you can't. So I missed out on a really good exit here when it was stalling out that I could have got 1.8, 2R, something like that. I missed out on a really good exit there, which is quite annoying. So the solution for that is, and keep in mind, I've only switched back to this style of trading over the past few weeks as the coronavirus has started to have a huge impact on the market. So, you know, I haven't got it as set in stone as my normal strategy. There's still changes I need to make to optimize it, and I'm doing it as I go. Now, right now, the strategy is proving to be very, very profitable, more profitable than I would have expected, to be completely honest. But there have been a few occasions where I've taken a trade, I've gone to sleep, I come back, and I'm either stopped out at break even, or I have to get out with a relatively small gain when I could have got out with a large gain had I been up. So what I'm going to be doing from now on is trialing trailing stops just for when I go to bed. So if I'm holding a trade overnight, I will be using trailing stops from now on. Had I used a trailing stop here, I could have probably gotten out with 1.5R, which would have been a lot better than the 0.75R that I got out with. So trailing stops are something that I'm going to be using from here on out if I'm holding a position overnight. Oh, nice. You got out all the way down here. That's perfect, man. See, that's around where I would have got out had I been looking at my charts. The other solution is, of course, to set alarms on your chart. So I could have set an alarm down here, for example, and then when it got down there, I could have got up and watched it. But I really do not like waking up at 4 a.m. to monitor a trade. It's just, I used to do it when I was in my 20s, early 20s, but these days I just kind of value my sleep too much, so I don't really do it anymore. So my only option really is trailing stops. That's something I'm going to be implementing for trades I hold overnight. So I'll be sharing that in the chat room from here on out. Whenever I whenever I'm going to set a trailing stop, I'll just let you guys know that I'm putting in a trailing stop. You got out at 110.40. That's not a bad exit. Anywhere around here, see, that's where I would have got out if I was watching it, because it stalled out here for several hours and it was clear that it wasn't going to move lower. So I would have got out somewhere around here. That was a whole 5 hours where there was plenty of opportunity to get a good exit on this trade. Now, there's nothing to say that this won't continue to move down. I just didn't think it was worth the risk of holding, because I thought, and I still think, there's a pretty good chance that it's going to go back to the entry, and that's where my stop loss would be at this point. So yeah, that's how this trade played out yesterday. And USD the trade I shared this morning, obviously that hasn't worked out. Got out of that roughly here. So quite minimal stop. Sorry, not quite minimal stop, quite minimal loss on this one. That's the great thing with this strategy. We've managed to keep most of our losses to less than half of what we originally risked. Half or less than what we originally risked. So our average loss is much smaller than our average win, because our average win is over 2R, which is working out really well. These market conditions are just amazing for trading, and with it's looking possible that these market conditions are going to last through to 2021. So we might have quite some time of trading these frankly amazing conditions. Now, in my report, that's going to be a weekly report that I released at the start of the week on the forum. I suggested that USD is going to keep gaining strength, and that gold is probably going to keep losing strength for a little while, and then it's going to recover. Now, it seems like my prediction was sort of right, just the time frame was off. Gold is already recovering. It happened much faster than I was expecting. Gold's recovering big time. So I'm going to be looking for a long gold trade pretty soon. But we'll come back to that. I just wanted to say that the time frame for what I was expecting is kind of accelerating. We're already seeing some weakness in the dollar. But honestly, I think the dollar is still headed up, guys. Overall, I think it's heading up. I think there's a good chance that we'll see the dollar continue to head up over the coming months. It's just always going to have like a few days where it's going to pull back, but I think we're going to see it go up. So I'm still favoring USD longs at the moment, but since we're seeing some weakness in the dollar right now, I think there's a good possibility. There's a good possibility in the coming day or two, it might drop back down a little bit. There's a pretty good chance. So I'm revising my plan from earlier in the week, where I was mostly going to steer away from USD shorts and only go for USD longs. And I'm going to be a bit more open to taking shorts on USD. So that means USD CAD, we have a nice little short setup forming right now. Let's check this one out, see if this one's worth taking. Now, a little disclaimer, guys, that I have to always give in these webinars, because this is a new strategy. It's been performing quite well lately since we started trading it, really. But my overall prediction with this strategy is to expect around a 50% win rate. So a 50% win rate does not sound fantastic, but you have to put that in context of how much we lose on a loss and how much we gain on a win. Right now, the win rate's a lot higher, but let's just imagine, just some real quick math here. We take 100 trades over the next few weeks. So with a 50% win rate, we win 50, we lose 50. Now, on the average loss, we lose 0.75%. If our if we're doing 1% risk per trade, on the average loss, we lose... actually, let's do this later because I kind of want to... I'm seeing USD CAD falling, and I kind of want to do this real quick, and then we'll talk about the numbers. I want to see if this is worth entering. Yeah. I have to be honest, I'm not crazy about this setup. I'm going to skip it. I'm not crazy about it. I'd rather have my stop loss up here above these recent highs here. So I'd rather have my stop loss up here. My entry has got to be at least down here. So that's going to give me a pretty bad risk to reward ratio. It's not worth the risk. There are so many trades right now that are happening all the time. We can get several of these 1 hour trades each day. So going for one that isn't optimal is just not really a good idea. I do think this is probably heading down. I just don't see a safe stop loss here. And my target would have to be down in this support area. And last time it went down in this support area, it didn't quite get that far into it before turning around. So yeah, I'm just going to skip this one. So let's just quickly go back to these numbers then. So 50 trades, we lose 0.75%. Why do we lose 0.75 if we risk 1%? Because we're not going out with our full risk. A lot of the times we'll exit the trade early. So we're not exiting with that 1% a lot of the time. So it averages out to 0.75%. So just for sake of easy numbers, let's say we're risking 100 per trade, so $75 times 100, 75 times 50 equals 3,750 in losses. Our win is $200. 200 times 50 equals 10,000. Obviously, not everyone's going to be using these numbers, but it's just for illustration purposes. So even with a 50% win rate, you end up with 6,250 gain. Now, obviously, this doesn't account for fees and all that stuff. I'm just giving you just a very, very quick breakdown of I'm expecting about a 50% win rate, 50% loss rate. But what's key here is the risk to reward ratio. That's what's key. The key is that we're winning a lot more on our wins than we're losing on our losses. So always keep that in mind. I just want to make that clear every time because I just think it's very, very misleading at the moment because we're getting a lot of wins. And I just want you guys to be prepared for the reality of trading the 1 hour charts, where it's more likely than not that you're going to get around 50% losses. So yeah, I know I'm going to go back to the USD trades real quick. I know this warning is going to get pretty old and boring, but it's just something that I feel like I have to say every time. Yeah, see, I'm not seeing much on these USD pairs. Like, I'm seeing that USD CAD is probably going to keep falling. I just don't think this is a safe trade setup. USD CHF looks like it might start falling, but I don't see a safe trade setup here either. Maybe if it breaks this low that it made last time, but I don't really see a good entry for that. USDJPY just seems to be getting into a tiny triangle, so I don't really see much there. So let's just take a look at GBPUSD and EURUSD instead. we might actually be seeing a bit of a recovery in the pound. Now, I was saying last week that we should expect some central bank intervention, and it did come last week, the central bank intervention, but we are at very, very significant lows for the pound. It seems like we could be seeing a bit of a recovery. What I would keep an eye on, guys, is this area here. I want to keep a very close eye on this area. If over the coming hours price breaks above this area, I'll definitely be looking for a long. Specifically, if it breaks above this recent high from last week, I'll be looking for a long position there. Now, the ideal long position in this scenario would be for price to close above this level, not just poke above it like it did here with this wick. I want it to actually move up and close above it. And if it does, I'll definitely be looking for a long in this case. Still overall, I do think we'll see USD strength and that GBP is going to continue to fall, GBP USD. But over the short term, over the next 24, 48 hours, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a move big enough to get us some nice profit on a long if it breaks this level. Okay, so I'm going to keep a close eye on that because that looks quite interesting at the moment. Why can't I organize this list anymore? Okay. Similar thing with, we missed EURUSD. EURUSD, again, I wouldn't be surprised if we see a bit of a recovery here. Although here I don't see a setup that we could really take advantage of. Unless we maybe... Yeah. No, I don't really see anything to take advantage of here on EURUSD. We could look for a long above this resistance here, but there's a pretty strong resistance right above it, which makes it a little risky. GBPJPY, very similar to GBPUSD actually. I'm looking for a break above this recent high here. That would indicate that we could get into a long trade, a long trend rather, and we want to be in a long trade if it starts to trend up for the next day or two. So a break and a close above this 132.04 would be ideal in this case. So I'm going to keep an eye out for that over the coming hours. Euro GBP, nothing. No. I don't even know why I still have this pair on my charts. CAD JPY. I'm not going to take a trade here. It's a bit of a quiet Tuesday, really. Compared to Monday. Although I didn't end up taking many trades on Monday. I was really, really busy. Potential long on silver. Let's have a quick look at gold. I'm more looking for a daily chart long on gold. I'm looking to buy gold if today's candle closes around where it is. Then I'll be looking for a long on gold. I think we're about to see a major recovery on gold. I wasn't expecting this for the next week or two, but it seems like it's happening early on. Gold is obviously a safe haven, and I believe that money is going to start flowing into gold. So a close above here on the daily chart would indicate a good long position on gold, but I won't get into too much detail in this webinar, to be honest, because there's just too much to discuss. I'll discuss this more in the forum if there's interest in trading gold right now. But back to the hourly time frame. Silver looks pretty decent. What I'm looking for on silver is a close above this high here. If we get a close above that, I'll be looking for a long trade on silver. So right now, there really isn't a whole lot of upcoming setups. I'll cover what Georgia said first, and then I'll get to you, Gatsila. So EURUSD long, I guess, based on this support area. Yeah, it's not a bad position. I mean, it is bouncing between support and resistance. I'm just tending not to take that many trades on cross pairs right now. There's just so much happening with the major pairs that trading cross pairs just doesn't seem that worth it at the moment. But yeah, anyway, guys. There isn't much happening right now, but do keep in mind that when you're trading the hourly charts, you know, just because there's no setup, just because there's not many setups right now, it doesn't mean that in 2 hours, in 3 hours, there won't be a whole host of setups. We've been seeing a lot of setups that happen in the evening instead. So in the evening, when we get towards the end of the US session, the New York session, we start to see setups forming on the charts that move overnight, especially on the JPY pairs. So I'll be trading the rest of the day and looking for these setups and sharing them if I see them. But do keep an eye on GBPUSD for a close above the 1.1932. GBPJPY for a close above the the 132.04. Keep an eye on silver for a close above the 14.23. Guys, say like you're short on silver, that's fine if you want to be, but I'm not saying that it's going to go up. I'm saying if it goes up and closes above here, then I'll go long. And by that point, I imagine your stop loss will probably be triggered or almost triggered. So by that point, it'll probably be going long. So I'm not saying it's 100% going long. I'm just saying that if it closes above there, it'll probably go long. But one thing to consider is that gold is recovering in a big way. And many times what gold does, silver will do a little bit later. So we could be seeing a recovery in silver just like we've been seeing a recovery in gold. Are there any questions, guys? All right, guys, it doesn't look like there's any questions, so I'm going to wrap this one up. Thank you guys for attending. Please do keep an eye on the chat room because a lot of the trades that I'm sharing lately are posted to the chat room first and the forum second, just because they're 1 hour chart trades and it's a lot easier to communicate them via the chat room. And obviously the follow-up chat in the chat room is a lot more detailed because people will ask questions and I'll answer them quickly. Whereas on the forum, just by nature of what a forum is, things tend to be a little bit slower on the forum. So if you can, please do jump into the chat room because the trading in the chat room is it's a lot more responsive, or at least I'm a lot more responsive in the chat room. I think the chat room right now is the best place for trades because these 1 hour chart trades, they just work a whole lot better when you can chat back and forth really quickly. Lisa, look, there's a lot of new things going on right now. It's like a lot of the stuff in the course videos is still very valuable to know because it gives you the basics of price action. But a lot of our trading is slowly changing, or not slowly changing, actually. It's very, very quickly changing to adapt to these market conditions. And the thing is, I haven't traded this way since 2008 because that's the last time that this kind of stuff was happening to the markets. So I'm now having to kind of like dial back my trading all the way back to 2008, or not dial back, but revert my trading all the way back to how I was doing it in 2008. And along the way, I have to teach you guys, which I'm doing through the chat room and through webinars and stuff like that. But it's, you know, it's a bit of a monumental task at the moment. But this is probably for us going to be the best year for the next decade, or maybe for the next 20 years, who knows. 2008 was the best year for me for 12 years. So this is quite possibly going to be the best year for another decade. So even if you're new, try your best to get into the chat room because there's loads of trades going on right now and it's all going very, very well in terms of profitability. It can be a bit overwhelming, but just try your best to follow along. And I think these conditions are going to last for at least a year. So if right now it's not great for you because you're finding it hard to follow along because you're so new, don't worry too much about it. It's not like there's a crazy rush because it's probably going to last for a year at least, probably a bit longer than that, probably 18 months. So you do have some time, but you know, just try your best to dedicate some time to trading, which should be pretty easy right now because a lot of us are confined to our houses. So you do have the time to invest in your trading right now. Godzilla, I'm not really trading classic reversals much anymore. I'm focusing mostly on breakouts. I'll be trying my best to get some videos out on breakouts. There'll be a webinar tomorrow on it too. Alex, like I just explained, this is going to last 12 months in my estimation, possibly 18 months. So we're talking long term. We're talking a year at least. But I am going to also be looking at daily chart trading. Daily chart trading will probably resume next week or the week after. I just want to see some more movement to establish some clear support resistance areas, and then I'll be adding daily chart trading into the mix. So we're not completely abandoning daily chart trading, we're just not doing it right now. As you see, the daily charts are quite crazy right now. So we just need to wait to establish a kind of basis for how the daily charts are going to move from here on out. Because usually with these financial crises, it kind of scales in, right? So it's not like all of a sudden the charts start moving like this. Usually you kind of scale into the crisis, and then the crisis fully hits, and then you've been slowly adapting your trading along the way, and this would be like a 6-12 month period where you've been adapting slowly along the way. Right now it's like, oh, financial crisis starting today, boom, it started, we're in the middle of it instantly, and we have not been able to kind of adapt our daily chart trading to it because it's just happened. So we just need to give the charts a little while to kind of give us some basis points. If they keep moving the way they're moving, which they most likely will, then we can start trading the daily charts again. But right now, the 1 hour charts are definitely the way to go for me personally. We're thinking, Adam, we're thinking of a solution for 1 hour chart support resistance. The problem is I update them every day, sometimes a few times per day. So it's hard to also update them on the site daily. So I'm going to be thinking about a solution for that. I'm sure we'll figure something out.